Ah, 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 da-dum. Ah, 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 da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. Do 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 do. La 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 la. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. Ah, da-dum. Okay.
Well, that was extraordinarily beautiful. And congratulations to Salwa for putting you at the end of the group, because it sort of sums up so much of what's been heard so far in the other performances. So you might not have been aware of that. I would suggest though that I mean, it was actually quite impressive, your emotional orientation at the beginning. But be careful about concentrating on comparisons before you've even started, because I didn't know you well enough to know whether that was actually going to harm you. And it didn't harm you at all, I think. And that's probably partly because you were prepared to wait so long before you actually started the utterance. And I wasn't looking at other people because I was absolutely mesmerized by yourself, because you were the most wonderful example of complete stillness and slight movement at the same time, all during that long half-minute plus silence at the beginning. That's absolute magic. I mean, you can't actually be moving and still at the same time, but you were. That was amazing. Yeah, that was fantastic. I also, and I mean, this is perhaps an accident of environment, but I thought it was totally positive. I loved the way that you were matched by a shadow behind you. You probably were totally unaware of that because you didn't turn around and see yourself on the wall. But the nature of the lighting meant that there was a shadow on the wall, somewhat on your left-hand side, and that gave us a lovely sort of perspective and depth to what you were doing. Gosh, I've got so many notes here. Yes, I felt, even before you started, I put very brave and lovely. And that was a totally confident prediction. I mean, it's a bit like a conductor who knows what he's going to hear when he brings his arm down for the first downbeat. I mean, I sort of knew that what was happening, or what would be happening, would be fine and all right. I had no idea exactly what it was going to be, though in overall terms, I don't think you unduly surprised me, because Salwan had mentioned that it was going to be more or less untexted in terms of what we might call significant linguistic utterance in terms of things that mean anything in a spoken language. But I mean, the sounds in themselves were highly meaningful. And I loved the way that there was a tremendous variety of weight and length on the consonants. Some of those consonants were quite long, the ends of phrases. In fact, longer than the vowels preceding them. But that was all done with effortless art, you know, I was captivated. At the beginning, when you were there, both still and slightly moving, the 3 words I've written down are vibrancy of life. There was such a living presence there that it was very exciting, even before we heard a single sound. And you balanced what you wanted to do musically superbly well with the, I'm tempted, I can't think of a better way to describe this. I ought not to say the different registers of your voice, because your voice is very much all one cloth. But the colours do change naturally between the top and the bottom. It's like one of those fantastic magical dresses where the top half is one colour and then the bottom half is another colour, but you can't actually put your finger on a single spot and say that's where the colour changes, which is wonderful. And you knew perfectly well what would work best in the upper part of the voice and what kind of behaviour musically in terms of pacing and motivic arrangement of notes would work better in the middle and the lower part. And I must say that the actual structure of that, I always like to ask you how much that was based on anything that is a kind of formula, and how much of it was just completely improvised. Because the complexity and the sophistication of the motivic structure and the variety of material that you were using was phenomenal. But it all fitted together, and there was a lot of internal reference between one phrase and another. I mean, it wasn't just a sort of stream of consciousness that everything didn't sound in a negative sense like chapter 1 of the rest of the song. We knew that a lot of your motivic structures were relating back to things we'd already heard, and that was wonderful. And you know, I have a very vivid memory of what it means, but I can't tell you in words what it means, which is this business about, you know, the art transcending language. Not only did you not use language in a conventional sense, in terms of, you know, language on the news feed or in the poetry declaimed, but it seemed to transcend the limitations of any kind of linguistic anchoring. So I thought it was wonderful, lovely, and I mean the voice works beautifully well in that kind of context. Super.
Wow. Yeah, thank you. I'm quite blown away by that. Yeah.
I mean, can I ask how, if any of it was sort of based on some kind of expected formula, or if it was all just totally free?
Well, obviously I didn't know where it was going, but I had sort of done a bit with Sal in the coaching session, and so I sort of used that, and then, but I wasn't sure how I was going to end it, and it was totally improvised, totally, yeah.
Well, I mean, hats off to you, Mariam. Western music is immensely impoverished because, by and large, except for a few maverick organists, we don't really improvise. I mean, it's Baroque ornamentation, yes, but that's of a very, very strict frame. But free improvisation in Western music is very low down on the pile of attributes of most performers. But to be able to do it with as much cogency as that is brilliant. I'm very impressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.